and some of the banks would tell you, you've been disingenuous. One of the things during your interviewing of board members, one of the questions you ask is there anything in your background that would preclude us from getting finance from a financial institution? What you're saying, is there any red flag? Is there anything, and you've got script about it, is there anything that possibly would keep a bank from loaning money to us? And when they go, you know the answer. Chinese are spending a lot of money in Australia, just like they're spending a lot of money every place else. And in his IT front, where it's kind of a loosey-goosey, everybody likes one another, for him to tighten up the reins was it's not easy, but I knew how he divided his time based on his reports. But one day healthcare, one day IT, one day healthcare, one day IT, and he's grown his IT business by about 100%, and he's grown from scratch to a pretty healthy healthcare practice. But I mean, he is pretty focused, he's got good habits, but he's now on a plane a lot because Adelaide's in the middle of Australia, in the middle of nowhere, and the population areas are on the coast. But he's already planned a potential exit, and he's in competition with Peter to see who gets on the Hall of Fame first. But not like Peter, where Peter was just a salaried guy. He had his own business before, and was, by normal standards, he was pretty successful, but he was still very hungry. Any comments or questions about Jason? He's done a terrific job. Again, he's coming back because default's a motherfucker, okay? Yes, sir.
Did he purposely seek out the non-recourse money, or did they just kind of...
No. He said, as soon as he heard that, his little Australian ears were ringing ever since, because he has assets that they can take away. He had net worth, and I mean, so there's nothing better than that goddamn non-recourse money. And so he was more inclined to go after the non-recourse money because he had a few million. And when you sign that fucking note, those are the guys they chase after. When you got a 15-speed bicycle, kid, got your right, see you next time. So that's why he was more inclined. Yes, sir.
So I noticed he had an exit. He would always talk about 10% of the market. Is that your suggestion or something?
No. He's going to see how 10% looks and what the market is. And remember, we're in a contracting and expanding economic climate, and the things that happen here, probably in mainland Europe, happen a year or 2 or 3 years later in Australia. Okay, they start in America, they go to Europe, then they wander down to the southern hemisphere. So that's part of what he's gauging. But right now, the norm is non-recourse money. That's a fucking great norm. I mean, it doesn't get much more terrific than that. And when people tell you that that's not possible, it's just horseshit. It's just one of the other great myths that's out there.
What was the time frame on his first deal?
7 months. 7 months, and he's a pretty structured guy. But I mean, we also have dinglings do it. So, but it helps if you're structured, and if you got some good habits, just like Roberto from a couple of days ago. He's got some and he still has some damn good habits. But I mean, even if you're a dingling with no habits and the only habits you have are all bad, we still get the shit done. It takes a little longer, and but he had and has, and of course now he's got success. I mean, he doesn't sound like this. He doesn't sound like the same person he did a couple of years ago. Only a reasonable facsimile, and that's what success does. And the fact that he's one of the only guys that's done the non-recourse. Not because it's not possible for everybody, but he held his ground. He wasn't running out of fumes, and it's easier to hold your ground and say fuck you to the banks when you got business that's producing, millions, a few million a year, than when you're running out of fumes and they're towed your car away and the sheriffs have come and claimed all the furniture out of your house. That's a different story, but it's still possible. It's still possible. But if you run through the transaction and you're actually talking to the trying to get a credit approval, and then you bring up non-recourse, then the credit has to go all the way back to the beginning. And first, they don't trust you now. Why don't you drop that shoe? Why don't you drop that dime on us from the beginning? Now we're 11 weeks into the credit approval process, and now you fucking bring up this non-recourse shit. And so, I mean, and some of the banks would tell you, you've been disingenuous. One of the things during your interviewing of board members, one of the questions you ask is there anything in your background that would preclude us from getting finance from a financial institution? What you're saying, is there any red flag? Is there anything, and you've got script about this, is there anything that possibly would keep a bank from loaning money to us? And when they go, you know the answer. Some will say, well, 27 years ago, I was unindicted co-conspirator. Next, Unindicted co-conspiracy just means you had a good lawyer or you were too small of a fry or fish for them to jump on. Unindicted, but they say with pride, I was an unindicted co-conspirator. That means he wiggled off the hook and nobody chased him. But when it comes up for finance and they do a LexisNexis on your board and it comes back and it's always financial, bank fraud, that kind of shit. It's never because you fought over a property line on a farm, okay? It always has to do with finance. And the fact that you try to, wiggle off something. So, I mean, but that's one of the things you ask them. And in a small community, Australia, even though it sounds like a big community, but I mean, for the amount of businesses for sale, it's not. And just like for Peter in Hungary, they're small. You can't fuck up too many things because everybody knows everybody else. But yeah, he's done well. He's done well. And of course, the people that told him he was full of shit. And he even said, even now, after all these 3 or 4 deals he's done, the Big Four and the lawyers still don't understand how he did it. Still, after they've seen the millions come back, they still don't understand and scratch your head. That doesn't surprise me. I mean, for 20 years, they said, how the fuck does that peanut, that fucking wetback Mexican get that goddamn money? How did he convince the goddamn Kuwaitis? The Kuwaitis got all the money and all the oil they need. What do they need that asshole for? And they're still scratching their head. So, but you don't care as long as they do it. And like he said, the fees from the Big Four accounting firm all of a sudden doubled. Same size transaction. He didn't iterate that, but it's the same 5.5 million, 6 million. Same size transaction, and the fees double because now, they want to gouge you. They want, they don't call it that. Inflation and all kind of bullshit, but I mean, it's basically, fuck, he's got money now. I mean, we're going to hit him up, double him up on that. Yes, sir.
Was he bartering with him to get a haircut and roll over fees?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He had to leave fees. And plus, Jason, if he was here, he'd say he's cheap. So his natural heritage is to pound him. If a haircut's $3.50, he wants it for $1.75. The fact that there's nobody gives you a haircut for $3.50 anymore, he doesn't give a shit. Except up here, £3.50 for a haircut. And if you're a senior citizen, which I am, it's £1.50. I always give them a $5, and they always go, okay? Because I just can't pay £1.50 for a haircut. I mean, somehow in my gene or my DNA, doesn't seem right to pay £1.50 for a haircut. Then I got a haircut in London at the Ritz. It was 110 pounds, and you couldn't see 90-some pounds or 106 pounds or 108 pounds difference. You just couldn't. In fact, I think Sally liked the £1.50 haircut better. But the £1.50 haircut is nothing fancy. Just, it's not quite just like this, but it's almost just like this. But I mean, so Jason's natural inclination would be to pound him down. But when they double the price on you, I mean, you don't have to be Einstein to figure out. And then the real irony and the funny part is the letters that they write, why to justify double the price, are just hilarious. Because they're boilerplate, they may say inflation, even though Australia had negative inflation during that time frame. The boilerplate letter says inflation is the reason why they're doubling the price. But like you said, he knocked off 150 off one and 80 grand off the lawyers. That's today. That's live, happening right now in a place that you wouldn't expect for it to happen, which is the other reason that when I asked him if he pleased, which he wasn't that thrilled, but he did it. I don't know if he didn't look that thrilled to me, but he did it. So I'm thankful, Jason. Thank you very much. Because not everybody that I train wants to help you guys. And part of the reason is you're competition for them. That's why I asked, is anybody from Australia? That wasn't just a throwaway question. I've never thought that way, even when I was in the hunt, fighting it out every day. But some of the people, they want me to retire. Don't train any more fuckers. Fuck them all, Dan. Hey, you come be our honorary chairman emeritus. We'll pay you. Just don't teach anybody anymore. But some of the guys, they don't want to help you. If love got the job done, they don't. Right? No, they wouldn't piss on your face if we're on fire either. Any other questions about? Yes.
Did he come up with the idea of asking the accounting firm to send the letters out to the?
Yes. No. That's part of you. You got shit in your shit. It's not shit. But I mean, the thing. Do we have one in here, Kat? We're going to give him? Oh. And there's a code on every one of them. So if one of you should decide to do, sell it like that, I'll know it's you, Shekels. And Jewish lightning will befall everybody in your extended family. Just like Shane Stanford, you can run, but you can't fight your tough as shit. Okay? By the way, that thing's gone viral. People like me beating up poor Shane, that piece of shit that he is. No, you ask once you've done the deal, then you ask the accountants, and the accountants have a better rapport with potential sellers, etc., than lawyers, because they do the numbers.
Did you
that off the first deal? Ask them to.
Yeah, but they're not inclined to do it because you haven't paid them anything.
Yeah.
You haven't paid them anything. Once the money tree starts, I mean, your relationship just completely changes with them. I mean, they're hot to trot to see you do business because the more business they see you do, the more fees. Now, you still shouldn't be doubling the fees like happened in that example, but you're less likely to fight over the fees when you're making millions. Jason is an anomaly in that respect because he counts his nickels. So yes, sir.
How did he negotiate the fees down?
He just said, I'm not paying him. It's very simple. I mean, I'm not paying him. That's too much. And the money's in his pocket. And if he doesn't pay, they're fucked. The last thing these big firms want to do is sue you because, for $100,000 or $300,000. They're not going to do that. It costs more than that to get all the lawyers up and ready. And they shouldn't have doubled the fees. They shouldn't have. Maybe they thought he didn't notice. They didn't know he counted his first nickel. He's got his first fucking nickel. Maybe they didn't know that. Now they know it, though. Now they know it. He's tight. He's close with his money, as they say. He's close with his money. But I mean, it's happening, today, and that's why I'm glad that Jason took the time to talk. Any other questions about or comments about how he did it or anything like that? Okay, now we're going to go through 12 or 14 various sources of money, but most people start out with friends, fools, and family, which is down in the middle. But they have such things as angel networks that I don't believe in. But normally they're associated to the academy, to Annapolis, or you went to Harvard, you went to, we got a Babson guy here. Where's the Babson guy? Yep, okay. I mean, Babson, some of these schools have tremendous networks, okay? And they've got people that want to go out of their way to help you along. My school, you got to explain about, doesn't have such a network. I am the network at that university. The bartering is not what, your dad makes shoes and my dad's a gardener, so you fix my shoes and we do your garden. We're not into that. Although some of the people that you're going to meet out there will want to swap their efforts for equity and deal, but we don't do that. That's not what this deal is. Factors are, you've got receivables and you're breathing through fumes and you can't wait 60, 90, 120 days for them to pay, so you sell off your receivables at a discount. We're not in that game, but there are some huge factoring companies. General Electric back in the day, when they had General Electric Financial, used to be able to borrow money like at a bank. Then the credit cards, we all know, friends, fools, and families. Governments, we've already talked about several examples about how the guys got started with government contracts, myself included. And the good thing is the governments almost always pay, the big governments do always pay. They don't always pay on time, but they always pay. And if you have a contract with the state of Illinois, the state of California, the federal government, the German government, the UK government, I mean, they give you 100% credit for that, and it bodes very much better than, if you had a receivable from your ABC company. Crowdfunding, we talked about briefly. I've never done a crowdfunding deal, but a number of the kids have. And but the bad side of crowdfunding is you've got 42 million shareholders, and a $5 shareholder is the same as a $50,000 shareholder. And normally the management of that you can't do by yourself, and you normally have to get some sort of internal credit officer to keep track of the crowdfunding. Commercial lending is where this model hinges on. But commercial lending, not just guaranteed commercial lending, but non-recourse commercial lending. Now, in the examples that I've given you, the non-recourse money that I've alluded to are in third world countries. Jason's not in a third world country, and he's not buying third world assets, but he wouldn't give up on it. And he had the ability, because he wasn't living on fumes. And for those of you that have some source of income that can negotiate hard, I mean, you're crazy not to go after non-recourse money. You're absolutely crazy. Insane is probably a better word to describe, because it's there. Incubators. Okay, you're an IT guy, right? Okay. Siemens, General Electric, Ford Motor Company they put up $1 billion and they start an incubator fund. In other words, they're trying to develop businesses that will be ancillary or complementary or supplementary to their existing product line. Okay? They're normally an easy touch for money, but these are startups. This isn't what we're doing. They're startups. There's investment forums. I used to be on an investment forum for the University of Texas where kids trot along, give you a 15-minute pitch, and you write them a check on the spot. This isn't what we do. There's obviously leasing in minority and women. I mean, there are minority and women pots of money that aren't quite as good as non-recourse, but they're available. But if you don't ask for them, you can come in being a one-armed black woman with one tit shot off in the Kuwaiti war, Iraqi war, and if you don't ask for the minority money, they ain't gonna mention it to you. So you've got to mention it to them. And then there's television shows, as you well know, most of them are staged. There's online resources. You're going to get a bunch of things that you're going to get in your thumb drive. There's publications and software, and then there's venture capital and private equity firms that are the investors of last resort. YouTube, goodbye. We'll see you later.